All right, guys, Eric Paulson here with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be getting into some of the news that broke last week about the $40 million plan for pretty much social media incentive for the PGA Tour players. And personally, I think this is something that is going to be great for the tour. I'll explain why here in just a second. So I do want to start off with asking you guys what your thoughts are on this. Do you think it's going to be a good thing? And then maybe come back, and listen to the video. Because for me, I personally think it's going to be a great thing. Now, I know I've already read some of the negative things there. It's like, oh, why put in money for this when, you got all these Corn Ferry Tour players trying to make a living. And I'm just like, guys, we need to grow the game of golf so that those players there can make a living. This is part of the reason here, and I'll tell you why. So I do have the news article pulled up from Golf Weekly, sorry. They're the ones that pretty much put it out there. So I feel like they could do a better job with this. I think there's going to be some different variations with it as they go on. But just kind of looking at it. So they want to reward players. So it's going to be a $40 million prize pool for 10 players. And see, that's where I don't like it. Okay. If this was like literally the top 100 players, I would like it a lot more. Okay, but I love the overall goal behind this, and we'll get into why here in just a second. So they're gonna have an impact score. Okay, number generated from 6 separate metrics that are designed to quantify the individual's added value. Okay, and they get into how they add that value. So I do want to start off with comparing this to the NBA. Now, it was a good like 10 years ago where the NBA realized that, hey, we need to grow our product. How do we grow our product? It's not by, marketing our product. It's by marketing our players inside of our product. The PGA Tour has always struggled to do that because there's really no incentive to incentivize the players to go out of their way to do this stuff. NFL, NBA, the likeness of a certain player is going to increase their payroll pretty much. Jersey sales and whatnot, autographs, just in general, that is going to help them out career-wise. It's going to provide them more pay. There's always been more incentive for players in NBA and NFL to go out and, make themselves a brand. Now the PGA Tour is kind of going out and saying, hey, we need to do this too. We saw how successful kind of that implementation, that approach, the player-focused approach, has been really successful for the NBA. And I see this as a way that the NBA or that the PGA Tour is going out of their way to try to do that as well. So just looking at it, their position points on the season ending FedEx Cup's points list. I think that's stupid. Who cares? That's not what this is for. Yes, I get it, whatever. But I don't think we have to worry about that. Their popularity in a Google search, and this is where I get really confused. It's like, is it Hideki gonna dominate this? I don't know. I don't know if it's a popular search engine in Japan. I would have to check that out. I'm assuming it is, but you get what my point there. It's like, are people in Canada just going to make Corey Connors #1 Google search? That's a little bit interesting to me as well. The Nielsen brand exposure rating, which places a value on the exposures a player drives to a sponsor through the minutes they are featured on a broadcast. And this freaking right here, this one better be cable TV. Okay, not the stupid feature coverage, because Phil Mickelson does not deserve this shit for playing horrible golf. Now, this is dumb because he's been playing well recently. Rickie Fowler right now doesn't need this stuff because he's been playing horrible. Give this to someone like Chris Kirk, who's been dominating on the season. Get him the TV exposure that he deserves. Okay? If this is factored into future golf coverage, I'm going to be pissed. Okay? Really? Let's look at the Masters there. Justin Rose was not in contention at all on Sunday. Okay, they showed so much of his round on Sunday because they had already invested time in him on Friday and Saturday because of his very low round on Thursday. So they already had invested media time into him, so they had to continue that coverage. For me, this tells me that they really need to make sure that they make their media coverage better. Their Q rating, which measures the familiarity and appeal of a player's brand. Now, this is also pretty interesting to me as well, because have you ever noticed on social media, Twitter, Instagram, all the players have the exact, I shouldn't say all the players, a lot of the players have a very identical tweet prior to a tournament. The PGA Tour really, before the most recent years, had never really wanted the players to have their own individual brand. So it's kind of interesting there to me that they're going to go with that approach. Be great to see, players branch out and make their own brand like the NBA has done. This is kind of the NBA side of it where players have made their own brand behind themselves, and the NBA was able to market that. That's kind of what this is telling me that they're going to go for. Hopefully they allow the players to really go and do that. Their MVP index rating, which calibrates the value of the engagement a player drives across the social and digital channels. The Max Homa right here. All right, guys. So who do we think of first? Max Homa. That's who I think of first. That's what I want to know. And Bryson. And Tiger, I guess, if you will. And then Phil. Those four are like the top four for me. From there, it's really wide open. And this, I love this because you could have some caddies like Gino Bonelli getting out there and, hyping up their own player, which maybe in the end will kick back some money to them. Be very interesting to see what the approach is here going forward for the MVP index rating. This could, make me lead into my boy Troy Merritt getting some time on 9 to 5. Former college, not alum, but he transferred up from the school I went to for college, Winona State. But it'll be kind of interesting there to see kind of what players will want to do then. I know the freaking foreplay podcast and shit like that. That's gonna be a big thing there for lots of players probably. Maybe even like the Tour Junkies, they do a lot of stuff like that where they're interviewing players where that can raise their brand awareness. That'd be a pretty interesting thing there. Now, this is interesting to me. All right, so their meltwater mentions, or the frequency with which a player generates coverage across a range of media platforms. Pretty much the same thing, but this is to me where I don't like how much they're putting in media's control to this, because us PGA fans are already complaining about how bad the media is. Sometimes they freaking troll Bryson into the ground with common sense golf stuff that he was doing, acting like it was world changing, acting like it was the biggest thing since bread. I messed that saying up, but you know what I'm trying to say. I really hope that the media doesn't have that big of a factor into this. Now, I get it. Going back to the NBA once again, why did the NBA take off? Well, you had stuff like ESPN First Take, Stephen and Skip. If you think about Stephen A and Skip, when they first started off, that's really when the NBA really started to focus on players' brands, and that's really when that style of coverage really kicked off. And now we're kind of sick of it at this point, but it went kind of hand in hand there, where the NBA is feeding us storylines every single day, and shows like that could really go off and I'll make a daily show and make it an interesting show. Now, I would love to see that with golf. I just don't know if there's enough there, especially with the way the media has been doing it lately. Now, maybe 9 to 5 sports becomes 9 to 5 golf here, and we have to start coming up with little stuff like that as well. Little tidbits here and there. When Brooks Koepka is doing some weird putting stuff with his knee or whatever, we break that down. We spend a freaking full day breaking down stupid stuff that Brooks Koepka has done on social media, especially since this has taken off. We could do that. It'd be fun. The tour will employ an algorithm to turn values from each metric into impact scores. For every player, a ranking of those scores then determines the bonus amount due. Okay, great. The players most likely, okay, whatever. This is interesting. So these are the players that would be in the top 10 right now. Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Justin Rose, Adam Scott. Why is Justin Rose and Adam Scott there? Masters coverage? Adam Scott, top player in Australia? Maybe. I don't know. So that's where I worry about it. That's where I feel like they should have like 4 different tiers of this. You can have the top 10 tier, which is like a DraftKings contest where the real top end is paid out the most. Like 80% of the payout is in that top 10, And then from there, you kind of go lower and lower and whatnot. I think that's the approach that they should go with. That's what I don't like, but I really, whatever. The rest of this article is just whatever. To to me, this seems like something that could be huge for the PGA Tour. And it's something that I'm really looking forward to if they go ahead and implement it the way that they should do it. It's a very simple way that they can go on and implement it. It's pretty much the NBA laid out for you guys. Do that. They'll take care of the rest. It's been pretty obvious that they just need to focus on their players a little bit more, cover their players a little bit more. Who cares? Like the Golf Channel does a horrible job with this. Like, I don't need to hear people talk about golf lessons, hitting, and whatnot. No one cares about that. They do. But we need a much better way of making the PGA Tour a individual brand, player by player. And I know it's very difficult because NBA, NFL, MLB is very easy because they have a name on the back of their jersey. Something like that is very easy to sell. PGA Tour, it's a little bit different. The caddies have the name on the back of them, so it's very weird in that sense. But this is a really good step, I think. And once again, just kind of going back to it, for the people that are trying to find a negative way to do this or behind this, the negative is that it's only 10 players. That is stupid to me. It should be a whole tiered system to people that even make the FedEx Cup playoffs or whatnot. It should be a whole tiered system. That's the flaw in this. It's not the flaw that they're doing this to raise the game of golf, which then, if they are raising the game of golf, growing the game of golf, it's going to help everyone out. It's going to help the Korn Ferry Tour. It's going to help the LPGA Tour. It's going to help the Champions Tour as well. So overall, I do like where this is going. I like the idea behind it. We just need to see how it's implemented and played out.